Many times when I'm making a card project, I just can't seem to find the right background paper. This happens a lot when I'm making masculine cards. So today on Stamp TV, I'm going to show you an easy technique to create the perfect background for masculine cards that I call distressed stripes. Here are the tools and products you're going to need for this technique. You're going to need some ink pads, and the ones that I've chosen here are by Tim Holtz, and they're called Distress Inks in Broken China, Rusty Hinge, and Walnut Stain. Then you're going to need some sort of applicator, and I'm using the Tim Holtz foam applicators. These are just great for applying the distress inks because they really help blend it into the paper. Then you're also going to need a sponge dauber. You can use one of these foam applicators for this step, but I really like the way I have a certain kind of control with the sponge dauber when I'm just trying to touch the top of an embossed area. You're also going to need some cardstock, and I've chosen the Gina K Designs Pure Luxury 120-pound weight cardstock. This is our heavy base weight, and it's great for this technique. You're also going to need an index card, and I just have a 4x6 plain old index card to use. And I'm going to use my Score Buddy and my Score Buddy mat. Now I really like this little mat because it's really convenient to flip it around all different ways on your table, and then of course it fits perfectly inside your Score Buddy. And you're also going to need a little bit of tape, and I'm using the Tombow mono adhesive for this. To begin, you're going to start with your Score Buddy, and then you're going to take a little bit of the mono adhesive in the center of that piece of cardstock, and you're going to line it up right along two of the red lines, like that. Now I'm going to start by opening up my Broken China and my Rusty Hinge ink, and get my applicators ready here. And I'm going to start with the Broken China. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create 1/4-inch stripes going across the cardstock, and I'm using my index card as a guide, just lining it up along the first 1/4 of an inch increment. And I'm going to start with the Broken China ink. So I'm inking up the applicator, and then using a circular motion, I'm going to ink up my first stripe. Then I'm going to move the piece of card, the index card, down to the next 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to ink up the foam applicator using some Rusty Hinge. And I'm going to go over that entire spot, so that's going to change my Broken China from a turquoise into more of a green color. And now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to move down to the next 1/4-inch increment, and again, I'm going to use some of the Broken China. And you can see how as you hit each stripe, it changes the color of the last stripe and makes it appear a little bit more shabby and a little bit more muted. And going on to the next stripe, doing the same thing. And you continue that throughout the entire piece of cardstock. And now I'm on my last 2 stripes. Now for this one, this very last one, I want to make sure that I go back over the rust part to change that color up. But then I certainly don't want to leave that one turquoise, so I'm going to hit that one again with some of the Rusty Hinge to make sure that that's changed as well. So once you've finished with your stripes, just go ahead and pull the cardstock off of your Score Pal mat, and then you can easily just spray a little bit of Windex on there and just wipe it off with a paper towel, and none of that ink will stain the mat. So for my next step, I'm going to grab the Score Buddy. Now since I've evenly spaced these in 1/4-inch increments, now I'm going to accent those lines by flipping the cardstock upside down on the Score Buddy. And starting at 2 inches, I'm going to do lines going down at every 1/4-inch increment. You can see how quick you can do this with the Score Buddy, because those 1/4 inch increments are really spaced out nicely. Then I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to pick it up again and finish out all of those 1/4 inch increments going across. And that is just going to accent my 1/4 inch stripes on the other side, and it makes them pop just a little bit more. But I've got one more step to really accent these stripes, and that's when I'm going to take some of the Walnut Stain Distress ink, and I'm going to grab this sponge dauber and ink that up with some of the walnut stain. And I'm going to use a very, very light touch on this. I'm just going to rub lightly over the raised lines to accent that those embossed stripes. See how those lines are starting to show up? And it does add a little extra element of distress or shabbiness to your background paper, which is really nice for a masculine card. And if you want to, you can then accent the edges using that same sponge and that walnut ink, if you like that look. Or you can leave them plain the way I did for my finished card project. Try using the Distress Stripes background using brighter colors for more feminine shabby style cards, or use your Score Pal instead of your Score Buddy to create a Distressed Stripes background for your next 12 by 12 scrapbook page.